I'm Cape Joel, and this is Comic Smack, your weekly, daily, all-the-time, anytime comic show where I give you your fix of everything you need to know from the world of comic books and superheroes. And on today's show, we are taking a closer look at Batman issue number 27. As the war of jokes and riddles rages on, what other villains will be brought into this titanic conflict? Well, let's hop on in together and find out, shall we? So, if you've been following the Tom King Batman run from issue 1, you'll know he has a strange sort of affinity for the D-list supervillain known as Kite-Man. And wouldn't you know it, it's that character who just so happens to take center stage here in this issue. You see, Chuck Brown, as we discover in the days before he got a costume and a villain name, was just another one of the many nameless punks walking around Gotham City. And yes, for those of you out there who have never made that connection before, Kite-Man's name is literally Chuck Charlie Brown, as in Charlie Brown, the kid from the Peanuts comics who always had terrible luck with his kite. Now, you see, Batman hopes that Chuck would actually have a line to the Joker, having done a little side work for him before this whole war had broken out. Chuck ends up looking to Floyd Lott and Deadshot for information. Yes, that's right, Deadshot having joined the Joker's crew in between issues. No, we don't exactly know what he promised him, but I can only assume it's money. Now, this should be easy, but much like the famous comic character that bears his name, old Charlie Brown has nothing but bad luck going for him, the only bright spot being the love of his son, Charlie Jr. FYI, if you ever wondered the origins of the Kite-Man, hell yeah meme you've probably seen around the comic-based internet, yeah, it's the kid who says it. Now, it seems that Chuck fed Batman some bad information about the Joker's whereabouts, which means the Dark Knight is mighty pissed at the man who will be Kite-Man and decides to send him in single-handedly for a meeting. Only Chuck doesn't get there because he ends up getting grabbed by Clayface, who is working for the Riddler right now. Riddler hopes to turn Chuck against both Batman and the Joker. Chuck never really gets to decide who he's going to back in this war because it's at that very moment the warehouse he's meeting brawny Riddler gets torn up by supervillain fights. Oh yeah, that's actually quite a hallmark of this issue. You see, while we follow around Proto-Kite-Man, all around him on the news and in the background we see these big apocalyptic fights with all your favorite supervillains. Chuck is only saved from getting stomped by a supervillain boot party by the Joker, who takes him back to his base of operation. What do these two talk about? Well, Peanuts comics, of course. You see, Chuck says as a kid he loved those Charles Schulz Peanuts comics. He thought they were so funny. It wasn't till he became an adult that he realized, man, these stories are really depressing. This is true to say nothing of the depressing yet ultimately really well-produced jazz soundtrack of the Christmas special, but now I'm getting off base. It's at this point here Batman's getting really ticked off that he's getting nowhere closer to catching Riddler or Joker, and that Chuck has basically turned up empty-handed to him every time. It seems that anyone who was anyone in this story has just been toying around with Chuck, and just to really add salt into the wound, his son is now sick, poisoned by the Riddler. Yeah, apparently Nigma got some of that Walter White grade child poison. This tragic turn of events ends up completely breaking Chuck Brown, and while Batman swears up and down that his son will be avenged and the villains will be brought to justice, that's not good enough for him. He instead decides to take his engineering skills as well as his love of kites to fashion himself his very first Kite-Man suit and glider. He then swears allegiance to the Joker in the war of jokes and riddles, even though Joker lied to him in the first place and kicked off all these events, so he's just as much to blame as the Riddler. But hey, why would I let little things like logic get in the way of a good revenge origin story, am I right? So yeah, that was Batman issue number 27, everybody, and overall, if you couldn't tell, it was Kite-Man Begins. I can't tell if that's secretly brilliant or actually kind of a troll on Tom King's part. I know lots of other websites and blogs out there are hailing this book as a nice little breather piece from the war of jokes and riddles. I don't know how you can take a breather from a storyline that just started 2 issues ago. Barely got started, by the way. Anyone who knows me in my videos knows I'm a huge fan of D-list schmuck villains trying to make it in the world, and I doubt you will find anyone more D-list or more schmucky than Kite-Man. King definitely added a lot of tragedy and pathos to this guy's life, but I don't think he added any sympathy. I don't know if I like him any more at the end of this story than I did before. Then, of course, there's the fact that there seems to be a much bigger, more interesting event happening in the margins with all the supervillains fighting each other and picking sides and everything that we only see snippets of on the news. Again, on one hand, it's kind of a cool idea to see this war through the eyes of an outsider, almost every man like Chuck Brown, but on the other hand, too, I can't help but feel this is Tom King being like, yeah, man, the real story happens between the margins, man. I suppose it wouldn't be much of a stretch to give this issue the compliment of being the best Kite-Man story ever, not that that was a particularly high bar to clear. Overall, I thought it was pretty decent, but I did think it was a weird addition to this story, especially as it's just getting rolling and it already feels like it's taken some detours. Overall, a 6.5. So there's Batman for the week, everyone. I hope you liked it, and as always, why not check out some of these other videos I have on offer from the channel. Then you can follow me on social media, links both on screen and down in the description. Lastly, if you want a great deal on trades, you can get them over at Book Depository. I have a link down in the description, and when you use it, not only do you get a great deal, but you support me in the channel while you're at it. So until next time, everyone, this has been Cape Joel.